Kevin. Thanks for being in the circle with me today.
Yeah, good to be here.
It's great to have you. Thank you. I always start with a question. Where did you grow up and who were your heroes when you were young?
Yeah, I was born and raised in Phoenix, Arizona, in a neighborhood called South Phoenix, predominantly African-American neighborhood. And so my heroes were, and still to this day, are my parents. Both of them were educators. My father was one of the early African-American men to get a PhD from Arizona State University, but actually was a student athlete at Arizona State, played in the 40s and then took a couple years off to go and fight in World War II for our country, and came back and finished the undergraduate degree and then got a master's and a PhD. And so he was a school teacher at heart. Did not get a chance to actually become a professor until later in life due to various issues, especially where we were from a society and community on race relations. And then my mother was a librarian, and so having both parents is in the education business, education was paramount. Probably around 6th grade, we moved to Tempe, Arizona, and that was about the time my dad got his first opportunity to be a professor at Arizona State. So we lived in a nice, simple, middle-class neighborhood in Tempe, and I went to high school at Marcos Zuniga High School, and I had a chance to fall in love with basketball. I was a football person at heart because my dad played, my brothers played, but my sister Marilyn married a guy by the name of John Shoemate, who had just gotten drafted by the Phoenix Suns as their #1 pick in 1974. And so you figure 11, 12-year-old kid, and brother-in-law's a top pick of the Suns, and getting the chance to go to the games and all those different things. I really fell in love with the sport and worked on my game a lot and was able to get a chance to go play in college. And eventually I ended up at Grand Canyon University, which at the time, for me to go from an Ivy League school to a Pac-10 school to Grand Canyon University, I had never made many changes, and to be able to, at 3 colleges in basically 3 years, it was a wake-up call. But that's really where God really wanted me to be, and I settled in, got my life really, really focused. Did great in school. I was always a focused student, but was really able to hone my academic skills, stayed healthy, and I had 2 marvelous years there. We won a lot of games, and in 2012 I ended up going into their Hall of Fame, and so I had a good career and finished my academic studies there. And then I went on to enter into the MBA JD program at Arizona State. Then I had my sister Marilyn, who was married to John Shoemate. He was coaching at Notre Dame at the time, and she just really needed some family and love and support. So I finished my MBA at Arizona State, applied to Notre Dame Law School, and went to Notre Dame Law School and graduated there in 1990. I had an undergrad and MBA and a law degree that I was prepared to go out and conquer as much as I could from a work standpoint.
Really prepared.
One of my early friends who attended Princeton, she had a brother who actually was a clerk for Thurgood Marshall. And I think the day that I made my mind up that I was going to become a lawyer is Randy Kennedy, who's now a professor, I believe, at Harvard. He actually invited us to the Supreme Court, and didn't let me walk into Thurgood Marshall's office, but he let me look into it. And sometime a look can change your life. And when I looked into that office, it was like my whole body just had a sensation over it. And I just said, I want to do something in law and business that will help change the world as much as I can based upon where I am at that point in time. And so I made the decision at that time to become a lawyer.
So a look.
Yeah, a look. I didn't even meet Justice Marshall, but just to even be able to look into his office, and I could see the depth of it and his big desk and all the things on the wall, just to be able to look and say, this is a first, black man in the history of the world to sit on the United States Supreme Court, and I'm standing at his doors. I feel it right now. That look that day is really what helped propel me to be here today.